Sounds good. Thank you, Kirk. And you guys can all see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I think we definitely want this to be super interactive. So at any point of time, if there are questions, I don't think we have, we don't really plan to just keep presenting for the whole hour. So yeah, if folks wanted to just jump in, ask questions, more than happy to do that. And so I think I just have, sort of 5-10 minutes of slides, but then we're actually going to jump into a real demo. Because I think working software speaks higher than actual PowerPoint slides. So I have, my colleague Francis on the call who's going to be doing the demo. But I just wanted to set some initial context. And I think even like talking to Kirk last week, what we constantly hear from people is, oh, Industry 4.0 or digital factory. These just seem like really big words. And a lot of times people are struggling to see how does this apply? Is this even useful for me? And then there's also lots of platforms in the market. So what does it mean to apply? So we'll sort of walk you through instances of where what we've done with different customers, to just spark some ideas. But I think the one point that I want to get across is you really, you don't have to boil the ocean, right? A lot of people are like, when they start their Industry 4.0 effort, it's like, I have to like change everything. Like everything, you start small, you try it at a few places, you see how it's impacting your bottom line, how it's impacting your business, and then, you sort of expand from there. And that's really where I wanted to focus. So just a little bit about Xemelgo before we go into these use cases. So, at Xemelgo, we are 2.5 years old. Most of our team came from Hitachi, and our focus at Hitachi was to build Industry 4.0 software for their industrial equipment like MRI machines, excavators, and stuff. And then we took a lot of learnings from there. But then when we launched Xemelgo, our mission was essentially, how do we bring these technologies to small to medium-sized businesses in a way where it's just really easy to use, right? So what Xemelgo offers today is a portfolio of Industry 4.0 apps. Think of it as, what Microsoft did to, PC back in the day, right? They just offered a bunch of apps that could work with different types of PCs. Again, whatever we offer today has been co-created with manufacturers. We've very deeply engaged with the CAMS community, which we're extremely thankful for, where manufacturers have come forward, talked to us about problems, and we've looked at, okay, how do we solve these problems given the technology of the day, right? So when you see our software, you'll realize that this is not like we went off in a cave and built something. It was built with real manufacturers to solve problems. The one thing, and we'll get into technologies a little bit more also, but we've definitely focused a lot on being mobile first. One of the first things that we heard when we started talking to manufacturers was, hey, I can do so many other things at home on my mobile phone. I can do banking, I can shop for things, I can even do stock trading, all of that. But when it comes to my factory, I still have to use these old tools. And why is that, right? Why am I not able to get the same experience on my factory floor also? Again, anytime people talk about digital factory, they're talking about, 2 years, 3 years worth of projects. And again, we wanted to sort of get rid of that myth and say, no, you really don't need to invest, 2-3 years worth of capital up front. This can be done super quickly. We come on site, we deploy in a couple of hours, let you get access to the system. We've had customers, where we just go in, deploy in an hour, they get the app on their phone and they start tracking, right? And I'll tell you how exactly that happens. And again, this is, a lot of people are also looking at, will I have to get rid of my ERP? Will I have to get rid of my existing investments? No, on your digital journey, you really don't have to. Eventually, all of these things will come together. But yeah, they can work together at the same time. And then, finally, just being able to provide access. I think the one quote that I love from one of our customers is, she's like, I just want to be anywhere where I can pull up my phone and see exactly what's happening to my operations. I don't really have to drive in to figure out what's going on. And this is sort of personal to me because my dad was in manufacturing for 35 years, and he pretty much worked 7 days a week, right? Because he had to go in to check on the status, and there was never really this like off day where he could stay at home and say, okay, I know the machine's running fine. Versus now with this, we can enable you to just check your status from anywhere. Yeah, so I think what is the enabling things for a digital factory, right? What are these enabling technologies? And this is a question that we get asked a lot. So I think there are 4 main pillars, right? So there is cloud, Amazon Web Services or Azure. I think those are the 2 most popular. There's also Google Cloud. But essentially what cloud enables you to do is to not have to host IT on site. Everybody knows of that one closet in the factory with tons of wires dangling, and you have your fingers crossed. What if my server goes down? A lot of manufacturing companies that we know of outsource IT, in which case, again, it becomes super complex to bring the person on site, take care of your IT issues, and just the cost, right? So with cloud, the cost actually definitely gets amortized over multiple customers, right? So the cost of your IT infrastructure goes down drastically as compared to if you had to host your ERP, your MRP, your SCADA systems, your digital factory. And then again, digital factory is all about the data, right? So if you have to host a ton of data, and if you need to run some machine learning, which requires a lot of compute, now if you try to do that in-house, suddenly the cost is too much and the value is really not there. So I think that's why like cloud is a big enabler. Of course, anytime we say cloud, the immediate question is what about security, right? So yeah, and we've worked with tons of customers on that, but I think in some cases cloud is actually more secure than your on-site IT just because of I think somebody probably needs to go on mute. Okay, I'll just keep going. Yeah, so I mean, both Amazon and Microsoft have top-notch security engineers working on these. All of these clouds are, they have SOC 2 compliance, they have ITAR compliance. There's a Fed cloud that you can deploy if you require, complete ITAR compliance. So there is a lot of bells and whistles from a security perspective that have been provided by cloud. Even Salesforce today, a lot of people use Salesforce for their CRM, is all hosted completely on cloud. So yeah, so I would say just from a pure security perspective, a lot of improvements have been made there, and a lot of compliance. Even the Pentagon right now, is running on Azure, right? So that sort of explains how far security improvements have gone from a cloud perspective. The next thing is mobile, and I think I already talked about it a little bit, but we all have a mini computer in our pocket, which can do tons of amazing things. It's just that manufacturing software hasn't fully utilized that yet, right? Imagine being able to, you're somewhere and you get notified saying, hey, your operations, there's a bottleneck here. You could just quickly call the person and say, okay, what needs to happen, versus constantly requiring a person to be on site. Getting alerted anytime any issues happen. And I mean, we've been on tons of manufacturing floors, and I have tons of respect for the production managers on the floor. They're just fighting fires all day long, right? Like they don't have the time to go back to their desk to run reports. If an alert could just come to them and let them know the issue, like that will take away so much time for them, right? And sort of give them back the time to do more important things. I'm sort of skip the AI portion, move to IoT. Again, I think sensors are at the basis of Industry 4.0, right? So RFID, RFID has been around for a while, but what's really changed is the cost. You can now get labels for as less as 12 cents, which now it's making it economical. And the price is growing down every day. I mean, the day where it's going to be like, a cent or a two is not too far off, right? Because the price is going down at such a rapid pace where it wouldn't really matter if you're doing a barcode or an RFID label. And there's a label for every type of thing. I'll show you some examples. We have labels that can go into ovens. We have labels, that can go on liquids, chemicals, all sorts of labels are available today, right? So there is no limitation on, what can I track and what can I not track. There's different types of technologies, Bluetooth sensors, GPS sensors. I mean, you name it, there is a sensor to solve the issue that you're looking for. And why sensors? Because what sensors are enabling you to do is to collect data while people are working on what they're good at, right? Today, I think what ERP did was it enabled people to move from paper, based factory to a digital sort of factory, but it was only for business operations, right? When it comes to the people on the production floor, they still had to go tell the system, hey, I worked on this, I did this. Like we have a joke, internally where we say if they sneeze, they have to go let the system know that, I sneezed. But what sensors enable people to do, and, as we'll show through our examples, is people can go about doing what's important while sensors are collecting all the data. But then they're also making sure that people have access to that data, right? So if a supervisor wants to know how his operations are going, he's not having to go figure out, hey, is this, was this data entered, or, is it there, is it not there, what exactly is it? And then finally, machine learning, okay, you collect all of this data, but then who's going to sit down and churn through this data, right? And figure out what exactly is happening. I mean, even now we talk to a bunch of manufacturers where they mention, like, to run their weekly production reports, it's like 8 hours a week to just run their weekly production reports, right? That's an entire day of work that you're just spending running your reports. Imagine if you could have a computer just run those reports for you and send that your way, right? That really is what machine learning is. I know people, AI is like a fancy word and everybody wants to talk about AI and stuff, but think of it as if you had unlimited compute capacity and if you had unlimited data, and then there was this computer sitting there, which is your assistant, which can run through all of this and tell you what issues are happening, what patterns are emerging, what you should be forecasting. That's really what AI is enabling you to do. The AI is what's telling you, when you go on Amazon, it's telling you, hey, ETA is going to be delivered 2 days later. And then it's telling you, oh, your box is 8 steps away, right? So Amazon's done a great job of building a digital supply chain where they can give you that level of visibility. Like, imagine being able to do that on your factory floor, and imagine being able to, let people know about that. Okay, and I'm just, making sure that we have enough time for the demo also. So I'm going to quickly walk through a couple of use cases, and then like Francis can sort of show them in the demo. Again, like I said, when we started talking to manufacturers, we tried to look at everyday business problems and see, okay, how can a digital factory or how can these technologies help you solve these everyday problems, right? So the one problem that comes up every single time is inventory management. People either use the Kanban card system or they have a clipboard, where if you're taking the last box, you need to put down on a piece of paper. We're working with a roofing company right now, and their entire warehouse is tracked on an Excel spreadsheet, right? So somebody goes, picks up an item, they have to let the person know, the person then goes and updates it on the spreadsheet. Then they have to do monthly audits where they have to shut down the facility so that the audit is accurate. So it's very expensive. It's one of those things, that people don't really want to do, but they end up doing because there's no other alternative, right? And that's, really where our apps come in, where, you can use sensors, so as items are added to the inventory, they get automatically added to your system. If somebody walks out with an item, it automatically gets removed from the system. So it's, if people are familiar with Amazon Go, it's a cashierless store, right? You can just walk in, pick your item, walk out, your systems are automatically updated. If items go low on stock, you get a notification, and then what the machine learning algorithms will do is they'll use your consumption and they'll predict what you should be ordering, so you never go below threshold, right? So it allows you to account for that also. The next use case that we have is work in progress tracking, right? So, and this is, we talked to a bunch of manufacturers, Heather at Orion, Market, GM Nameplate, where they were talking about work orders. If you have 2,000 work orders which are flowing through your facility, having to keep track of, which work orders at what place. If Boeing calls and says, I would like this work order to be expedited, now you have a supervisor running on the floor, trying to locate where that work order is, moving it on the top of the pile, putting a sticky on top of it, letting them know that this is the expedited order, that they should be working on it. And, even being able to detect, okay, is this department getting bottlenecked? Like all of that is done manually today, right? Of course, people can go barcode, but they either barcode after the fact or they forget to barcode sometimes. And so you never have that real-time data available to you. And so with sensors and AI, what you can do is you can track your work orders as they flow through the facility. So think of it as Google Maps, right? So I'm telling you where your work order or part is at any point of time. And if it's running low on threat, if a department is starting to get bottlenecked or there is too many orders sitting in the queue, then I send you a notification on your phone right away, right? So the red, yellow, green, and then, if your sales guy now wanted to provide an ETA to the end customer, he can then look at that and say, okay, your ETA it's going to get done on Tuesday at 4 p.m., right? So you can provide that level of visibility to your end customer. The next use case is asset tracking. And this is, where you're looking at expiring inventory, where you're looking at items, that get scrapped, tools, calibrated tools. Again, today, all of that is tracked on paper, right? We had one customer that had a Boeing audit and they were found using expiring inventory on the factory floor. And, they sort of narrowly missed a 6-figure fine. And we were talking to them and they said, hey, we've taken, our processes as far as we could. We've talked to people, we've trained them, we've told them you should not be doing this, but we still miss stuff. And, then when an audit happens, it makes us look really bad. And, of course, there's a financial cost that's associated with it. So with, our asset tracking solution, it's like Find My iPhone. You can locate where your assets are. It'll send you a notification, if an asset needs to be taken care of, it requires maintenance. So one, you can get more out of your assets. You're not having to scrap them because they were not made, they didn't get maintenance at the right time. And then you can also make sure that, they're not getting lost. And, at the end of the day, you can save cost in that sense also. And the final use case is shipment tracking. So think of this as DoorDash, right? So where items are flowing between multiple facilities. Most mid-sized manufacturers that we know of have at least 2 facilities, or they outsource, to a paint department. And they said that's where the maximum, that's the biggest black hole. When you have an item going from one to the other facility, you have no idea, did it leave, did it arrive, did something get misplaced, where exactly is it? And it's just hours of finger pointing, people calling each other, going back and forth, versus, having a single source of truth where people can log in and say, where exactly is this item? Imagine a FedEx-like system for your factory where you know exactly what's at what dock door, when did it leave, when did it arrive. All of that is taken care of, at one go, essentially. So I just wanted to quickly walk through a use case, so that you can see this in action. And everybody, I think, on this call is familiar with Orion, great company, great mission. And we've been working with Heather at Orion for a while. And we were working in their finished cell to track their work orders, right? So they do a lot of batch processing in their finished cell. And what was happening was, 100 work orders would go in, but then people will not really update the ERP till like the entire batch processing is done. So now, if a supervisor or if a salesperson wanted visibility, hey, is this particular order getting done? Where exactly is it? They really had no idea. And if you guys can see this picture, the readers or the RFID readers that we use are circled in red here. So they're actually very discreet. Workers can go about doing their daily jobs. When a work order arrives at a particular location, it gets automatically picked up. The systems get automatically updated, and people don't even have to worry about it, right? That's the power of, what these technologies can offer. And in terms of setup, all of these readers are Wi-Fi enabled, right? So you don't really have to run cables. And people, reposition their factories a lot of times all you have to do is you take the reader down, you put it in another place. You know, these are like any smart home devices that you have today at your house. And so, yeah, that's really what, you know, brings down the amount of time that it needs to get set up. And then eventually, you know, it gives you that complete visibility that you're looking for on the factory floor. You know, so here's like Heather and Melissa, they were sort of using the app and, you know, being able to determine where something is at. Yeah, I mean, today we support RFID. I mean, what we've seen with RFID is, like I said, the price points come down quite a bit. Now we have Wi-Fi enabled readers, which make it very easy to set up. There's no upfront cost of, you know, running Cat5 cables or running power and stuff. You know, this can just plug into your regular power, connect to Wi-Fi, and you're good to go. You know, there's also an option of a handheld reader. If you were looking for a particular item, you know, you can go ahead and do that. Here's something that I wanted to show. You know, a lot of people ask us, oh, you know, my thing is so different. You know, will there be a tag to, you know, track it? There's a tag for everything today. You know, this is actually one of the tests that we did at one of our customers, where the tags actually end up in the oven and for a while, and even after they come out, they can easily be read, right? There's no issues with like reading it. You can track metal today, you can track wood. So there's, you know, tons of different types of options available. So with that, I'll probably stop. We can, you know, take any questions. I know it went super quickly, but, you know, I just wanted to give people an overview. But I think when Francis does the demo, it'll probably be a little bit more clear. So yeah, any questions for me? If not, yeah, we can definitely jump into the.
How do you address the orientation of the tags in relation to the reader? I thought that they had to be perpendicular to the reader to be able to be read.
Right. No, that's a great question. So actually, even on that front, there's been a lot of improvements from RFID, where now initially you only had linearly polarized, and I'm getting too technical here, but now you have circularly polarized readers, where antennas where it actually doesn't matter what your tag orientation is. So think of it as, before this, it was like a laser. So it actually, you needed to make sure that the tag was in the right orientation. But today it's like a cone. So it doesn't really matter what orientation the label is in. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see what the antenna shape is. Like, it's been a couple of years since I delved into antenna shape, so.
Yep. Yeah. No, I can definitely, you know, provide you more information on that. Who was this though? Sorry.
This is Ian Knox from Command Automation.
Hi, Ian. Yes, we can definitely get you information on that. Any other questions?
So I have just something that came up as you were talking about it. You said there's really no limitations on the sensors, that you have them that work in heat and liquids, chemicals, you know, so you haven't really run into any processing or manufacturing situations where, you know, the type of material or the processing would interfere with the reading, I guess.
Not yet. I mean, initially when we started, you know, we sort of stayed away from metal because we were like, oh, you know, metal's not, you know, RFID's favorite. But now we've, you know, even for metal tracking, and there's actually a few great companies that have come up with labels that work really great on tracking metal tools. So yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the one that, you know, we probably did not venture into earlier, but now a lot of the deployments that we do are tracking metal also.
You know, and yeah, and we welcome any other questions, but if there's no other questions, we can go ahead with Francis.
Yeah, I got one more question. Who do you purchase your antennas from? Because I know that metal is a huge attenuator for RFID.
Right. So there's a company called Visionex, which actually specializes only in making on-metal RFID labels. So yeah, they, and then in terms of the readers, we partner with Brady and then Nordic ID. So Brady and Nordic ID both offer Wi-Fi enabled readers. So these are readers, like I mentioned, you know, you really don't need to run Cat5 cables or anything for them. and they're really easy to set up. But yeah, there's a company called Metalcraft and there's another company called Visinix, and both of them actually specialize in labels which go exclusively on metal.
Akil, I guess I have one more question here.
Yep.
As I was taking notes, that it seems like to me that in a conventional factory that maybe is not taking advantage of the digital solutions, they're busy pulling reports. I mean, they have to spend time pulling reports, but they're also manually tracking a lot of things. So it seems like, and I've been in more than a few manufacturing facilities where I meet the people who are doing this manual tracking and they're trying to pull reports. I don't know why, there's, it seems like that there's stress around this whole topic of manual tracking and pulling reports that this seems to solve so easily.
Yep, totally. I mean, we have two companies that we work with. One is Key Compounding, they're a compounding pharmacy that were completely tracking their inventory, manually, with a clipboard and stuff. There's another company called Andrews Fixtures. I don't know if people are familiar with them. They're actually a 100-year-old furniture manufacturer in Tacoma that just got recently bought by another person. And yeah, she was saying, really there's like no visibility into their operations right now, right? So it's pretty much have to walk onto the floor to see, how things are getting done. So, and the reason I'm giving the examples are these are, really small size companies which have found ways of being able to embrace like, digital solutions. So you don't have to be a large scale company to do this. Both of them, I would say are pretty much small to mid-sized companies which have done amazing by using these solutions.
That's great. And I was trying to think of the impact that this has on managers and leaders as they start to see this real-time information, because a lot of times the manual tracking, manual reports are delayed, but when they start to see real-time information, I'm sure that's quite a change.
Yes, and it starts with, now that I have real-time information about this area, can I also get it about that area, right? Because I have another black hole that I just discovered. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Thank you. So good. Do you want to have Francis proceed?
Yeah, Francis, if you want to take over, you can stop sharing.
Yep. Awesome. I will now start to share my screen. Let me know when you guys can see it.
Yeah, we see it.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Francis. I run the engineering team here at Xemelgo. Just want to thank you, everyone, for joining. Appreciate the time you guys are taking to be here with us today. And yeah, what I'm going to be running through is actually the software that we're running, and I can run through the different solutions. Like Akil was saying, if at any point there's any questions about anything, definitely stop me, let me know. Happy to answer any of those questions. The first thing I'm showing right now is the inventory management solution. And so this is, like Akil was saying, inspired by Amazon Go. You can walk into a room, a stock room, or a warehouse, and then take the item that you want and then walk out. And then we have, the sensors in place that will help you keep all the systems up to date without having an operator actually indicate, I took the last one or I took this one. You can receive those real-time alerts on your phone, an email. And so you can more proactively make sure that you're not running out of stock, for your inventory. And so looking at our software, you could have different rooms. If I'm the supply manager at, Innovation Industries in this facility, I have these 3 stock rooms: chemicals, PPE room, as well as the storage room. So we wanted to make the software as sort of easy to use, as well as just showing the information that is useful. And what is important. So we have a lot of health indicators. For example, here we're saying, hey, there's something going on in the storage room. Looks like I have something that's out of stock, and a couple of things out in low stock. So looking here, I can tell exactly what items those are. how many units I have, on hand, and even how many are incoming. So, if I am able to determine how many things are coming into this room, then we can also show that information to say, you're out right now, but you actually have 9 that's on the way. Or, in this case with the welding goggles, it is below, the stock threshold that we set, which I can show you where we do that. But once it's below this threshold, again, you'll get an alert that, welding goggles and low stock. But if you come in here, you see that there's already 11 incoming. Okay, great. Then that's something, I don't need to worry about. Of course, you can look at this across the board to say, okay, well, how many overall do I have for welding goggles? This is all that where I have it. But I can also look at shoe covers and say, shoe covers inside the PPE room is also low stock with more coming, and I have even more to back up. So again, it's a way to help you see in real time what all the inventory you have in a very easy manner. Any questions about this so far? Other than that, we also for inventory track expired products. So this is, from a stock level perspective, how you can manage that. But if you also have expiring inventory, then you can also have this, change the view here to expiration. And then you can also see, okay, out of all the different items I have, how many of those are actually expiring? So in this case, I can tell that, for this blue paint can, I actually have a bunch of units expiring. I can click into that, and then I can see what those actually, what items have actually expired. EPC we refer to as the actual RFID tag that's on it, the lot number that's associated with. And so what you can do then is now look for this particular item inside this room and actually remove it. Speaking of going into the room, we have an audit app. So we have our application runs both on the web as you're seeing right now, as well as on mobile. And we pair with a handheld RFID device where, typically as part of an audit, like Akil was mentioning, you would send someone there and physically count everything. But in this case, because you have a handheld reader which can detect RFID, you would just scan the room, zap the room, and then using our software, you'd say, compare the discrepancies, and it would be able to tell you, here's everything that we have in the software, and here is everything that you physically scanned, and I'll now show you the differences so that you can take care of those. So not only does it take care of the discrepancies, but I can also tell you that, hey, you scanned something which is expired. You should probably, take that out and not use it as part of your production. So again, trying to be more proactive, as well as making the process of doing an audit much more efficient. What typically could take a few hours to maybe even days would be shortened to, just less than an hour because of the ability to do the scan.
Hey, Francis, could I ask just how quickly does that scan happen? I mean, do you have to wave it over the entire room, or I don't know how sensitive it is or how long it takes to scan everything.
Yeah, so the handheld readers typically have a range from anywhere from 15 to 25 feet, depending on what let's say what power or what level of reader that you get. There's the more affordable ones, and there's also the more powerful but more expensive ones. But yeah, you would be able to stand, just facing the racks or whatever they're being stored in, and just wave it in front of it. You definitely don't need to have line of sight per se, because again, RF can travel through a lot of different types of materials. And because of that distance, then yeah, you're not necessarily walking into everything and doing a line of sight scan. So it definitely makes it much more convenient.
So it's so even if it's stacked behind each other or on top of each other, I'm not going to have to pull things out to scan it specifically then.
Correct.
Wow, that is very cool. I can see the appeal of that right away.
Yeah, I think that the customers where we've deployed this as, I think, the overall inventory management solution is great, but I think audit is where they've seen significant improvements in their process in just time, right? Instead of sending someone there every week to do a physical count at all the different storage rooms, they would just be able to do this audit, very quickly and remedy all the discrepancies.
Wow. Do you have a recommendation for how often they do the audit?
We don't necessarily provide a recommendation. I think we work with the customer to let them know this is how fast it's going to take, and then they can sort of figure out based on that, how
Yeah.
important it is to them.
But what we've seen is, like Francis was saying, one of our customers, they used to do a weekly audit. Now they've moved to a monthly audit, and they're actually thinking of moving to a quarterly audit just because they already have real-time information all the time. So it's just a matter of like, okay, do I really need to go like verify it one more time? Yeah, so I think once they get confidence in the system, then the need to do audit really goes down drastically.
Oh, I see. Even better. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Savings in terms of the time spent as well as how many audits you're doing overall. And the next thing I want to talk about, of course, is, it's great that we're able to get this real-time visibility, and I can sort of proactively go look to see what is going on, with my inventory. But the real power, again, behind of what we're trying to achieve is letting the data come to the user and make better, decisions, assisted decisions. So when we start, when things are getting consumed and they're taken out, we can start analyzing and seeing the trends of how often items are being taken out. And through that data, we're able to build a shopping cart, that the user can look at and say, okay, I'm about to order a bunch of stock today. Based on this, yeah, I can see I need to probably order some more braces, maybe some welding goggles. But that's pretty much it. But I think with the actual analysis and the trends, we can say, okay, look, right now you have 13 units of caustic soda, which is still fine. But over the next 2 weeks, based on our understanding of the consumption patterns, this will actually drop below the low stock within the next week. And so if you're going to be ordering now, might as well order in bulk, save costs on that. And then you don't have to worry about it for the next 2 weeks. So again, we're trying to let the actual manufacturer operators focus on the actual manufacturing and not have to worry about restocking or reordering or worrying about this. And so by providing the shopping cart that is able to sort of look ahead, 2 weeks or a month, and be able to sort of and be able to analyze and recommend to the user exactly how much they should order. That's where we're taking the software to.
Francis, I just wanted to make sure I understood that it's actually anticipating orders as well, saying based on what we know you're going to do in the next couple of weeks. Is it looking ahead a bit?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that we do it, right? The most simple way is just again, without connecting to any of the ERPs, just based on how often these items are being taken out of the room, we can start seeing that trend, right? Every week you take out 10 of these things. So if today you have 15, then that means next week we anticipate this becoming 5, which is going to be below the stock level of 11. So go ahead and order 10 more today, just so that it may look like a lot, but then by next week it's going to be back down to the average. The second way, which I think you're getting towards, is taking into the actual demand from the customers to be able to know how much inventory is needed. And that is where we start talking about potential integrations into an ERP, which is where this becomes even more powerful. Is if we can understand the demand and look ahead and say, okay, you have production orders coming for this particular type of part, and looking at the current inventory, you're going to need more of this material. Then those are things that we can build on as well. And so I think exactly where you're getting at is where this becomes really powerful is once we start analyzing and getting more factors into the overall decision making, then we can be much more dynamic about taking in the different factors to provide an even better assisted decision.
That's great. Thank you.
So one thing that Keela had mentioned was, this is inventory management, assuming I'm just managing, this one facility. But what's become, extremely popular for us is vendor managed inventory, which means I'm a vendor supplying inventory to my customers, and I'm managing it, on their behalf. So how would that look like? So in this case, it's exactly the same view, but now my top level, instead of just being a particular location, is actually the different customers I have. So in this case, here's the different customers that I'm supplying to, and here's their overall health condition. And so it's exactly, again, the same look and feel. But now you're able to manage either multiple sites or multiple customers across the board. So I can say, okay, there's definitely something wrong here. Let me take a look at that. Oh, okay, they're running out of stuff in storage room. So let me create a restock request to make sure things go there. And then let me go take a look at what's happening in Houston. Okay, they're low stock in welding goggles, but there's already a bunch of stuff coming. So, that's entirely fine. And where we're taking this next is, if I'm a VMI company, then this is great, but I also want to offer, Cypher Aerospace, for example, the exact same view. I want to offer them, this view where they can see their own inventory in real time and add that as a business value stream as a company to say, not only are we going to manage your inventory for you, but we can also provide you an interface where you can see your inventory in real time as well, the exact same as us. So, they would be able to provide their customers a login into this Xemelgo software and be able to see a subset of that view where they can see their information. We plan on even adding like a reordering button where they can add these items into a shopping cart, proactively as a customer to say, right now I have 4 and I have 17 coming, great, but I really just need to get more in because our production is going to ramp up, the next week. So I can click on a reorder, request, and that will send that data over to, the original vendor. And they can then fulfill that request. So it's really streamlining the communication. I think that's just another big part of what we've seen is the communication today happens a lot through email, through phone calls, but there's no real sort of record of it. And for us, having the software sort of be the platform in which you can have this communication is important.
That's great.
Questions from anyone on the call? Awesome. So I'm going to switch over to the other solutions. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about here is what we call multi-solution. And so, as Akila mentioned, we have asset inventory management, work orders, and shipment tracking. What I just showed was, if I'm a customer that is just using inventory management, then okay, then that's what you're going to get. In this case, for the purpose of this demo, we're saying that we have every single Xemelgo solution, so I have all of them here. But again, the key is that it's all in the same interface. I don't have to bounce back and forth between 2 different interfaces. It's all within the same set of software. And what I'm showing you right now is the work order tracking solution. So this was really built in mind from a production manager perspective, where they're trying to manage the backlog of all the different departments and how many work orders or how many parts are going through each one of these departments to understand if there's something that needs to get taken care of. So for example, in this case, I'm looking at all my parts and I know that there's some that are being delayed. And I can go click on it and say, okay, what's going on with this one? And I can tell, like, okay, it's gone through in assembly, but hasn't gone to the next step yet. And so the due date is actually today. So when it's not the last step yet, maybe this is something I need to follow up on and say, where is this right now? This is something I have to expedite, which you can again do through the software as well. You can say, I want to expedite this order. And this will send an alert out to either the managers on the floor to say this is now expedited, so that they can pay attention to that queue. So from a production manager perspective, again, they have this view. But then what we've also done is on the floor itself, you can actually change this to an overall list. And that you can sort this by different columns. So I can sort this by either the status or by the due date. And actually at Orion, what we've done is blow this up in a full screen and put this on like a display where the operators on the floor can tell, okay, what is actually the next thing I need to work on? If I am someone at the assembly location and this is actually on display, that I can tell that these 3 orders are delayed. And I actually have to make sure that they get across. There's other ones that are on time but are expedited, so those are the next ones I should take. So typically what happens is either there's just a stack of work orders and someone just picks off the top of the list, or just randomly from the pile, or a expediter or a salesperson will come and say, hey, this is the thing I have to work on next. So again, trying to improve that communication, where instead of having a non-streamlined approach where things might not happen in the order that would be most efficient, we want to start providing that visibility to the operators as well so that they can see what's actually the most important thing that they need to work on.
So, Francis, if I could ask, this is creating visibility, if I heard you correctly, for the operators as well as for the management.
Yes, exactly. I think, again, when we co-created the solution, we started from the actual operators, then moved to like the production managers, and then again also talk with the upper leadership to know exactly what's important for them. You know, once you start getting that level, the financials are important. How much time are we spending on each one of these work orders so I can better understand my cost? We've taken, I would say, different perspectives because we want this to work for everyone. This shouldn't be, you know, amazing tool for leadership, but then it's extremely clunky and not useful to the operators. Everyone should be able to reap the benefits of that. That's really one of the principles that we want to stand behind.
That's great. Wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Where we see this going is what we're calling dynamic scheduling, which is, you know, right now we can tell exactly where something is, how much time it's at. But once we start analyzing the trends, we can start saying, you know, it took 2 days at an incoming shot blast, it took this long, but, you know, is this ahead or behind of schedule? We can start determining that again once we start analyzing the trends based on this particular part, how often, you know, how much time this part typically takes throughout its process. Then we can tell if this is actually ahead or this is behind. If it starts getting more and more behind, then you know, rather than relying on just a due date to tell you that it's delayed, we can proactively say, hey, it's not due yet, it's going to be due next week, but just looking at where it's currently at, it will actually be late if we don't do anything about it. And then, you know, building this into a scheduling system where it says, okay, well, if this is delayed, if I bump this up in the queue, how will this affect everything else? I think we've talked with you know, schedulers at different facilities, and I think the job is very tough for them because they would spend, you know, a lot of time to build up, you know, the perfect schedule where everything lines up, and they feel pretty, you know, happy about it. Then suddenly, you know, 10 customer calls come in and things get moved around, and all of a sudden the schedule that I spent all this time putting together is not valid anymore, and I basically have to just go again through a firefighting exercise to figure out what's the best way to do it. So we really want to help solve that issue, really want to make that person's life easier, where the software can come up with, you know, potentially what the most efficient way is, and then the user can say, well, you know, based on if I make this change and these changes, now tell me like what's the most optimal way to do it. So that's something that we're looking to expand to.
That's great.
Questions, thoughts?
Hey, I guess keep going.
Cool. Yep. The next one I'm going to show is the asset tracking solution. So very similar to work orders, you know, but we're actually tracking tools or fixtures or PCMs, you know, in aerospace, where these things, the things that we're tracking don't necessarily have, it doesn't just go from start to finish and from a production order process, but they're used as part of the production, and they're important as part of the production. And, you know, typically what we've seen, especially in aerospace, is there is a you know, a tools team where all their, you know, their main job is to manage all the tools, make sure that they stay calibrated, and if something goes missing, then they go look for it. But again, we've heard the same challenge where it's like, okay, once it's inside the tooling area, then yes, I know exactly where it is. But once someone checks it out, if it doesn't come back, then I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out where it is, because, you know, person A might have taken it out, but, you know, borrowed it to someone else, and now the tool is out there in the production facility, and there's no way to know exactly where it is. And so even though you have teams built around looking for missing tools or tools that are going to be calibrated, need calibration soon, there's a lot of time spent there to try and recover those. And so we're taking the exact same, you know, approach, where if we tag each one of these tools with a tag and have the sensors placed around the facility, then it's basically like doing a find my phone exercise, right? Where I'm saying, okay, I'm looking for this tool, pull it up in the app. It's going to say that it was last seen in quality inspection, or, you know, something that was in shop last. Okay, this is where it was last seen. Now I can pull up my phone, and we have integrated again with a handheld device where you can play out almost like a Geiger counter, where you can use based on this location, I can walk into the area and say, okay, I know it's last seen here. Now let me go look for it. And I can use the gun to scan the area. And as I get closer and closer to this particular asset, then it's going to beep, faster and faster. Visually, you can see, it's getting warmer and warmer. And so it's actually internally, even when we use it, it's a lot of fun. But I think this really helps with just the act of looking for something, right? Where instead of asking people, instead of looking all over for this, you can use this to help you locate things much faster. Companies where we've done case studies for this, teams that typically are the ones looking for tools have tried using this approach and found, like a 40% reduction in time. And again, time is very important, right? Again, we want to let the actual manufacturers stay focused on the actual job and not spend time on these low value things, but are still important to the actual production, itself, right?
I guess a question that comes up in my mind, Francis, here is when I understand kind of, using tools, borrowing tools. However, if it's impacting over and over again these certain areas, it seems like there could be, more, it'd be wise maybe to invest in more tools or, replacements. But,
Yes.
It's interesting how the information would help you make a better decision.
Exactly. So that's you've said exactly sort of where we're going next with this is, okay, great. You can help me find these tools. You can help me find them faster. But again, the power is really behind the data, right? If I'm looking at a particular tool and I can see it, sorry, I'm just looking for one. I can see it going back and forth between these locations, multiple times, then, we could, again, bring that up to say, this tool is going back and forth pretty often. Maybe it just makes sense to buy that tool, at that location and just have one there, so you don't have to spend all this time going back and forth. We also have ideas around, geofencing, where if a tool is meant to stay here at this location, and if it leaves for more than a week, then alert me. Maybe someone took it out the door. Maybe someone took it out and never brought it back. But yeah, understanding and being able to see the trends will help then make better decisions.
Yeah, especially if it's costly. So if the fact that tool isn't available or has been misplaced holds up your production, then of course this is a really smart lean activity.
Correct.
Very cool. No, this is great.
Yeah, I think speaking of lean, I think very interesting where we've had customers say, "Yep, we have deployed lean practices. We're pretty good at that." But I think the big thing with lean is that you need to have the data there to help you understand what you can actually improve, right? And a quote that I really liked. One of our customers was they're saying, "I'm blind in my facility. Help me see." And really, even though they're trying to practice lean, but without knowing exactly where things are at, how much time it takes there in real time, then having that visibility will really help also accelerate some of the lean improvements.
Hey, Francis, this time has gone so fast. We're down to like our last 5 minutes that we wanted to record. Do you have any other highlights for the next few minutes? And then we'll go off camera and just have more informal discussions.
Yeah, not much else. I think the only other thing I wanted to show was just a shipment tracking solution. Just to cover that real quick, yeah, you can be able to tell as shipments are going back and forth, what's being received at a particular facility, what is still in transit. Again, we've the same issue where you're looking for stuff within a facility. Once it leaves the door to go somewhere else, either to your own internal facility or to a customer, if you get a call to say, "Hey, where's this thing at? I don't know where it is." Instead of sending 2 teams to look at 2 different locations, now you can tell like, yes, it's still on the truck, or no, it was received. It shows that it was received. So this is our last solution, and we can proactively tell you if something is missing or been sent to the wrong location.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, this is really great. Well, we're down to our last 3 minutes of recording. Does anybody have questions about anything that you've seen or how it works? Ian, I appreciated your earlier questions. Does anybody feel the pain of doing things manually versus this way? I don't know if that's another good question to ask. Okay, so I'm not hearing any other questions right at this moment. Akila and Francis, is there Is there anything, yeah, thank you, Tina. I see a chat on that. Yeah, I think we see the value of this, but Akila and Francis, do you have any last advice for people who are listening to the video? And
Yeah, I would say, like I was saying before, that a lot of these technologies, the price has come down so much and it's becoming so easy to use. But more than the technology aspect of it, I think, if folks were to just look at, okay, my manufacturing, what is it that I need to make efficient? People are talking about how do I reallocate resources so, they can do higher value work. I would say, yeah, that's probably the place to start at, and then see how technology can help you alleviate that problem. I think the other thing that I always do mention is, again, working as an ecosystem here in the Pacific Northwest, we can sort of build a lot of this competitive advantage together, and then, go up against the world, right? And this is not, we see a lot of consolidated efforts in Germany and Japan, because, at Hitachi, we worked at a lot of these countries before. And it would be great to just see something like that here in the Pacific Northwest, right? With all these great companies, can we sort of set the benchmark for what the next generation digital factory would look like? And yeah, at Xemelgo, I think we're just excited to partner and learn from people to see, how can we enable that for the entire ecosystem?
yeah, this technology has come so far, and I appreciate you mentioning competitiveness, because I think that's our vision here at CAMPS, is to share the information, ideas, and learn the best practices from each other that help us here in Washington State really, just like you said, Akila, compete against the world. And what's interesting is people like Akila and some of the other members who you may have customers that are international, but these people are really embracing this digital factory concept. So we're not, we need to hurry, kind of get on board with it too. Okay, well, Akila and Francis, any last thoughts before we go?
Oh, yeah, I would say if anyone's interested to hear more, or we're always more than happy to come and just talk about our thoughts, or what we've learned so far. I think again we're always learning and listening, and just want to be active in the community. So definitely feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I want to thank you for mentioning that, Francis. That's one thing about CAMPS, the Center for Advanced Manufacturing, is that we really are a community. And as you saw with Akila and Francis, they're accessible, they're friendly, they want to share ideas. And so I think that the sharing of ideas and helping us see what's possible, and even asking them difficult questions and saying, what is something like this possible, I think helps us all become sharper and better. I want to thank all of you for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and then we can stay in network.